It's Thursday. I'm happy it's Thursday. I'll go ahead and I know what you want me to say. I'll go ahead and welcome everybody and get ready for the weekend. We are recording, you guys, just to make sure you know that. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat or raise your hand. We don't have a big crowd tonight, so just raise your hand and don't be shy. Also, you want me to say that part about the opinions of the inspectors?
Well, the opinions of anybody, the inspectors, the guests, even me.
Yes, even you. So the opinions, if anyone states an opinion, we just want to let you know that it's not necessarily the opinion of NOAA certified.
Good job. And now here's Sherry. Hello, Sherry.
Ooh.
Our lovely operations manager, Sherry.
Well, there's not a whole lot that we had on our agenda tonight to discuss. I did want to let people know that we are going to start talking about requiring plans for tiny homes. And we are possibly going to be letting you choose whether you want your home inspected to IRC or ANSI 119.5 or any of the above, so that you can choose how you want the home inspected and to what standards. We haven't really came up with a total package on that yet. So once we do, we will be discussing it more.
And the reason behind that, guys, is that Colorado is actually mandating some standards. And so we want to fall into ahead of the game here with the possibilities. If any of your houses are going to Colorado, they would, and they're going to be lived in full time, then they would have to be built to the 2018 IRC and the 2020 National Electric Code. And then Appendix Q is being amendments. Amendments are happening to the 2018, and I'd like to share just a little bit of that if we have some time of what's going on over there, so we can bring everybody up to speed. Hey, Rich.
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Hello.
So yeah, if you've got a couple of minutes, guys, and you don't have any questions or anything, I have a few things I'd like to share with everyone, if I could possibly do that.
We'll think about it.
You think about it, huh?
Tick tock,
I
tick
love
tock.
it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, is it all right? Should I go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Because I didn't know whether we had anything else planned that we needed to do.
There's a couple of things I want to bring out, but other than that, no.
Where was I? Here we are. Anyway, so when we're drawing plans, let me get to some plans here. We were talking about having to draw plans and that kind of stuff. So in that, get to the, oh, this is what I sent over there. I had them downloaded. All right, let me go to my downloads. And these are the ones that I sent to them. There it is. There it is. All right. All right. When you're doing plans to IRC, and Rich, you probably are familiar with this. I just wasn't. I needed to learn it. So I figured, other builders would probably and other inspectors would like to see it. You see these numbers here that say plus 24.45 / minus 27.57. In the walls in International Residential Code, and I'm just going to pull up the Florida Building Code. They have this chart right here. That's the component and cladding loads for a building with a mean roof height of 30 feet located on exposure B. There's exposure A and exposure B, I guess. And so these are these different charts that they give you, and they tell you, what area you're in and that kind of thing. So what you do is at the top of here, you have a zone and you have a wind effective square footage, effective wind area per square feet. And then you have a wind zone, and I'm in a wind zone 140. What are we building to, guys? 120 or 115 or 130? What do we require?
130.
130. Okay, well, let's go down to 130. So now you're putting in your windows, and you have to, and you look at, okay, there's 4 and 5. Those are the two. I think that's the zone. So there's zone 4 and there's zone 5. So we're in zone 4, and then you would come over here to 130. Let's see, which one was that? 130 is this one here. I hate to keep scrolling up and down. And then I believe there's a square footage. So if you have a window, let's say a 3050, let's see what that is. 3 times 5 is 15. So that would be right here on the 20. And so it would be this one right here, which would be plus 17.4 / minus 19.0. And so when you're submitting plans for plans review, whether we're going to be doing it or whether Colorado's going to be doing it or another building department, they may require these on the plans themselves. So now I can't find where those downloads were. Drafting plans, messages. There it is. So so you would put those numbers right there, like this is 3050 single hung, and then it says plus 24.45 / minus 27.57 per square foot. And so that's the number that you would put on there when you're submitting your plan. So and just so you guys know, there's this thing called UpCodes. I'll go ahead and click on it. We're in Florida Building Codes, but whatever state you're in, go to California if you want. And you can see California Residential Code is right here. And then you would go to Chapter 3, Building Planning. And then you would just go down to that chart. That they have for that. There's your zones.
Termite.
Yeah, there we go. There's the chart for all those numbers that you're looking for. So there's a lot of information. It's called UpCodes. And I recommend that anybody that's building in another state that is requiring, IRC, that I would recommend that you go and check out your state. Let's see what Colorado says. They're in 2021. No, they're in 2018. Yeah. 2018. Looks like they scratched out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and 11. Wow.
Whoa,
But they do have chapter 3.
ow.
Yeah. Yeah. They wrote their own standards and codes, I think, for all of that. It's called the administrative rules, maybe. I don't know. Or there's, you know, we might have to look into that because a little bit more before we go crazy with it. But it looks like they've adapted a lot of things out of 2018. Although the modular, and here's what they say: the modular home building industry can do what they want. They don't have to go by what the state goes by. And if they want to adopt IRC 2018 as is without any amendments, which they have, they can do that. So they have adopted IRC 2018. Let me see where that is. Yeah, in this presentation, these are the standards and codes that they're going to adopt. It's a IBC 2018, IRC 2018, then International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, National Electric Code 2020, International Fire something code. What is that? IFGC. I don't know what that one is. I think it's a fire
Fuel
code.
gas
Oh,
code.
gas code. Okay. And then IEEC is the energy code. And then IBC, no changes. All they're doing is up to 2 years. This is what they might have to potentially change for transitional housing and communities. And then in 2018, they're going to adapt it as previously amended. Oh, it says as previously amended. So they're going to take whatever the Colorado's already amended and then add Appendix Q with all of these edits. And these are all the Q edits that they're adding to that. And there's a lot of them. Headroom and stairways and all. They pulled this from Appendix AQ. This little drawing right here came from Appendix AQ, and some of these landing things came from AQ. And anyway, that's what we're dealing with in Colorado. Whole house mechanical ventilation. It looks like they are going to do a air leakage test. Is that what a blower door test is, guys?
Yeah, yep.
And then they have some alternative compliance. What we did figure out is that there is, if it's less than 500 square feet in the IRC or in the 2018 IRC with amendments, there is a clause in there that says if it's the structure is less than 500 square feet, then you don't have to put the R48, which they were going to allow us to do R38 here, if you see where my cursor is, R versus R49. But if it's less than 500 square feet, it does say in there that you can use R30. So an R30 would be, if you have a 2x6, what is it, R7 per inch. So that's 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches of closed cell spray foam. Somebody else brought up on the call that as you get thicker, the R value goes down. I didn't know that, but I thought the R value stayed the same no matter how thick it was. So may or may not be true. But bottom line is, if you're going to use a 2x6 and you're going to use the R21 fiberglass, you could put a 1-inch foam on top of your rafters and then your plywood and then your roofing. It would only add 1 inch to your height, and you could theoretically, right, with 1 inch, that's another 7. R21, no, that's only going to be 7 and 1's 29. I wonder if they'd let you get by with 29 instead of 30. I don't know.
Doubt it.
Yeah. So anyway, if you like fiberglass and you still want to stay with fiberglass, you might have to do something by adding another 1.25 inch foam board on top, closed cell foam board on top of your rafters, and then your sheathing, and then your roofing. So, any questions with that from anybody out there? They did have this built for purpose trailer that they talked about. Where's the first one mention of it? Landing platforms, headrooms, lofts. I don't know where it is, but they had somewhere in here built for purpose trailer. Maybe that was the first mention of it. But basically what they ended up landing on was that, and I think they're going to land on this anyway, that if it's built by a trailer manufacturer for the purpose of a tiny house, and if it's built for that, then you don't have to have an engineer. See right here where it says tiny home must provide engineered stamped drawings. Engineered stamped drawings and documentation be roadworthy on Colorado roads. I think they're going to strike that out of there, and it's just going to be tiny homes must be built by a trailer manufacturer and provide specifications. They're going to ask for specifications. In other words, 2 inch by 6 inch by 1/8 inch tube steel main rails and 2 inch by 3 inch by 1/8 inch tube steel cross member, that kind of specifications. They're going to ask for that unless you do structural modifications. If you do structural modifications, then they're going to ask for this engineered stamp drawings on there if you modify that trailer. That's about it. They did say that for tiny homes, if a bathroom lavvy cannot be added due to size constraints, in other words, there's a certain amount of distance in front of your toilet and your shower and your sink, and if you can't fit it all in there because your bath is too small, then the kitchen sink can be substituted to meet the lavvy requirements. So, and then I am working on something right now. I'm working on, the floor system. They, for it at wider than an 8'6". This is straight out of ANSI 119.5. And what I'm going to put on here, even though nobody builds like these main rails, it says 8 inch by 6.5 pound I-beams, spaced not less than 75 inches apart. But nobody uses the 8 inch I-beams. They all use a 2x6 or a 2x5 tube steel. So what I'm going to put in here is or equivalent. And so if they can show that 2x6 is equivalent, because they want to take an existing standard or code and put it in there. This is an existing code for steel frames, and they want something like this. This basically transverse and longitudinal floors, that there's two different ones. One is, and both of these prescriptive trailer frames require a 2x4 subfloor on top of the metal that's on here. So the 2x4s run perpendicular to the main rails, and one, they run horizontal to the main rails. And I don't know which is which. Does anybody know what the difference between transverse and longitudinal are? Steel frames following minimum floor joist with longitudinal joist, or the longitudinal, I guess, to me is along, the the trailer, the 24-foot, 28-foot way. Transverse, I guess, would be transverse joint orientation where they run perpendicular to the main rail. That would be my guess.
It is.
So-
yeah, it is.
You think, am I right on? I think I'm
Yeah.
right on that.
Yep,
And
you're right.
but nobody's going to build to this. But what we're trying to do is to get them to put this in here and then put an exception to it, or equal. You can always put an or equal. And so it's easy to show, in tables and maybe in International Building Code, I don't know where it is, that an 8-inch or maybe in trailer manufacturers or steel manufacturers, where an 8-inch 6.5 pound I-beam equals, and then a 2-inch by 6-inch, 1/4-inch tube steel, where it's equal. So that's what I'm thinking. So any feedback on that, guys? Am I maybe I haven't submitted any of this stuff yet, but that's what I'm thinking. And the other thing that I did submit was that because we're having trouble with the landing, they have a thing in there about the landing height. Let me go back there.
Jacob uses I-beams, 8-inch, 18.3 pound.
You found something online?
No, Jacob, our member, he just put in the chat.
Oh, Jacob.
Yes,
He uses 8-inch I-beams?
hold on.
Yeah,
Yes.
I use 8-inch I-beams. 8-inch by I think it's 18.3 or 18.4 pounds per foot
That's a
as my
heavy.
main rail.
You only need 6.5, and you've got 8, and you got
Well,
18 pounds.
We build them like tanks.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reason for that is because ideally this house will never have to move. I mean, we'll never have some issue with the trailer. So if something goes wrong, I've seen mobile homes in the past where the trailer starts to fail before the rest of the house. So
Mm,
we
yeah.
just want it. This thing can last 50 years or more,
Good. Good way of doing it.
Well, you can always go up. You have minimum standards, and you can always go higher than the minimum codes or standards. That's not a problem. The landing platform is an issue here if you're using a trailer. Even with a drop axle, we're having some trouble with that. So I sent in a request to change this 18 inches to 24 inches. So, think about, I'm looking at a bed right now that is probably more than 24 inches off the ground. And you're standing at the top of the landing and you're more or less crawling into the loft. Theoretically, you should be able to, crawl into a loft. Even a kid could crawl into a loft that's 24 inches. Maybe not a small kid, but even a small kid might not be able to go up a set of stairs that have 12-inch risers either, not easily, but you can do 12-inch risers according to Appendix Q. And the other thing is this land.
A 24-inch
I'm
step
sorry?
is going to be a heck of a step.
It's not a step, it's the landing, and you're
Well, I know,
crawling
it's
into, you're
Yeah.
standing at it and you're not gonna step your foot up, you're gonna put your knee on and crawl in. So if you think about it, it's
It's not getting
and
in.
it's the only
coming
way to
back
make
down.
this work.
Yeah, it's not going in. It's actually coming back down. That's going to be a bugger.
Yeah, you'd have to back down, crawl back down. Yeah, you're right about that. And you might sit on the ledge and let your feet hang down. I'll have to get some my measuring tape out and see how I'm sitting in a chair right now. I wonder what height it is off of the ground. But that's how we figure these things out in real world. The other thing is, notice here, the landing platform should not be less than 20 inches in width and in depth measured horizontally from the perpendicular to the nosing of the landing platform. That's a little bit larger, I think, than Q requires. I think in Q, they required the landing to be twice the run. And the run can get as low as 7 inches. So you could have a 14-inch wide landing according to Appendix Q, but they're upping that to a 20 by 20 landing at the top of the stair. The other thing that I had thought about, guys, was to put in there that you could instead of you keep it at the 18 inches or make it but make it where there's one step. You have a landing, a 20-inch by 20-inch landing, but then you can have one more step to get you up to that 18 inches and then crawl in, but that may not work either. But just trying to come up with a solution because it just does not work with a 13.6 structure and a trailer and a ceiling over whatever bath, kitchen, and a loft, and trying to get a 6'2", which is what they call here, ceiling height from the landing. And the other thing that I added in here, somewhere they had egress too. They have loft guards. I thought they had egress in here somewhere. Yeah, under this one, I had them add the landing is made part of the loft and maybe the location for the secondary means of egress, which you all know that trying to get a IRC size egress window in a loft where you only have, 2'6" in wall height is tough. Sometimes there's 3 feet, sometimes there's less, but see this right here, this drawing right here shows this is 3 feet in the loft, and that's where you start measuring your 35 square feet. But the actual at the wall, it could be less in a tiny house, less than 3 feet. All right, that's all I had, guys.
Just
That's
that's all.
Any questions with that, with Colorado or with what we're doing with the IRC now, potentially making, the option of you either build to the RV standard for temporary or seasonal use. In Colorado, they're still going to allow you to build to ANSI 119.5 or NFPA 1192. However, they are going to require you to put it in a RV park if you build. If you're going to put it not in an RV park, if it's going to be for full-time habitation, they are requiring the IRC on that one. And the other thing that they're doing in Colorado is you have to be a registered manufacturer, or you can be a certified manufacturer. Certified manufacturer means that your plant is certified and you can go ahead and build your units and they pop in every so often to look at them. If you're a registered manufacturer, they have to be inspected at every stage of construction before cover up. And the other thing that I added to that, either the registration inspection or the inspection for certification, and they have one more inspection that you do if you have to modify something or change something from the plans. There's an inspection on that those can be done. I sent in a request that those could be done either in person or remotely. And if they pass that, then NOAA would be able to do the inspections on there. Snow load, what they go by their chart in their code. Somebody was asking about the snow load. There's
Sean,
different, yeah. There's different areas that there are some areas it's just 30 pounds per square foot, but there's some areas that are much higher, and I don't have that chart But if you look at the Colorado Building Code, they have that chart in there of what or a map of what areas require what snow loads. And I had another thought, but it just slipped my mind.
When that happens.
Oh, I know what it was. It was fire. They have another. Am I still sharing my screen?
No,
No,
Let me see if I can find the fire thing.
Remote.
You guys keep talking and I'll find the fire thing.
does any of the members have any questions that they have that they're needing answers to while we're waiting on Robin? Nobody?
All right. Here's on the installation, it says, however, a local jurisdiction may adopt unique public safety requirements related to geographic or climatic conditions, such as weight restrictions for snow loads or wind shear factor or wildfire risk outlined in, and this is where you're going to find it in Colorado Residential 24323318. So if you want to go in there, there's where you're going to find your different maps of different things. And what they're doing, it hasn't passed statewide, but some, like I think Denver adopted it. Some local jurisdictions have, it's called WIFI or WUFU or something. It's a wildfire risk area. And you have to meet, your exterior finishes have to meet certain non-flammable conditions in order to do that. So, and going back to registering as either a registered manufacturer or a certified manufacturer, there is bonding requirements. We just found out from Jennifer Lavini. If anybody's interested in those, you can get her book, and it has all of 50 states what their requirements are for becoming the manufacturer or the dealer in that state. And there's some, I think the highest is Colorado, I think, and they require a $50,000 bond. If you're, but I think if you're building to the ANSI standard, they don't require a bond. I think that was Colorado. But anyway, check those things out. There are some pretty hefty fines in Colorado once July 1st rolls around if you don't comply with this. $10,000 each offense. And if you do something bad to somebody over 65 or I think 55, it's a $50,000 fine. So some big teeth
Right.
in these things, guys. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal in the tiny house world. I'm trying to stay on top of it and stay in the know here. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you guys of what I'm doing there.
And
I have a
as we
question.
said last week, always, be in touch with your municipalities and your building code officials to see what it would take to get tiny houses approved as full-time habitation in your areas. We're always trying to fight the good fight. So, but we need help in fighting that good fight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sherry.
when are we gonna start requiring plans?
That
I like-
is in the
I like
talks, so
plans.
we haven't came up with a date yet and how we would want the plans to be. But
Gotcha.
it's something the inspectors have talked about as so they know what the builders are building to, so they have something to go off of. So it's coming, it's not in the real close near future, but it is coming.
Sometimes
Yeah.
too, the plans can help us avoid a problem a little bit further down the road once the build gets
Mhm.
started. If we can catch it
Mhm.
before the build gets started, then that's a plus for everybody.
Yeah,
Well,
And it's
those
not gonna
plans have to
require
be,
you to go out and pay big dollars for these plans. the inspectors can talk more on that, but we're not gonna require the plans to be $400 set of plans, so, but they can talk more on that too.
Yeah,
Can
I think
will
Jacob
those
wanted,
plans have
go
to
ahead,
be
Jacob.
stamped? Will those have to be stamped plans by a, licensed architect, or can it be, like a CAD drawing that we drew up,
Yeah, that's fine for us. Jacob, that would be fine for us. Here's where you're going to run up against the requirement for stamp plans when you are trying to get something that's going to go to Colorado.
Mhm.
They probably will require an engineer's stamp on the plans. They're not going to, in Colorado, if you're building to the RV, no problem. But if you're building to get a certificate of occupancy in the state of Colorado, they're putting this under the modular home program, and they will require engineered stamp plans. And then they will review, or they will send out to a third party for those plans to be reviewed. And once they're approved, then you can start your build. But not
Okay.
until they're approved.
Mhm.
That
know-
may be
by the-
something too that you want to start asking your buyers is where they're planning on
Yeah.
taking them and what their intentions are. So,
I was gonna say, if you sold to somebody, and I mean, it almost sounds like unless you do that, you have to blanket say, if you're in Colorado, I can't sell to you.
right.
If there's gonna be
Mhm.
something, if I sell to somebody in Texas and they decide to move to Colorado, is there
Right.
any word on what's gonna happen there? Cause I mean, we're building these on wheels because people want to move, and then somebody up and moves
Yeah.
to Colorado and they're coming after me like, hey, you built this and blah blah blah.
Yeah, they did address that, Jacob, on the call the
Okay.
other day. And what they said was, let's say somebody, in your instance, use your, for instance, somebody builds a tiny house and they move it to Texas. They live in it for a year. And then the person says, I think I'm going to move to Colorado. And he moves to Colorado. What they said was, we're out of that picture. It's up to the local jurisdiction at that point. All they're concerned about are new homes that come into Colorado, either built in Colorado or built someplace else and brought into Colorado. If it's an existing home coming in from another state, that's up to the local building department, whether they want to allow it or not.
So unless you do that essentially as a new construction builder, you'd have to say, we can't deliver to Colorado, kind of.
Correct.
And some verbiage in a legal agreement that says it's not for sale in Colorado, something like that would cover your bases then.
Right.
Yeah, to cover
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the
yeah,
mandates is to keep it affordable so people don't do that. I mean, we heard builders in Colorado saying, I'm just going to cross the border to Utah. I'm moving my whole operation because of this. But, all the states will, eventually come up with something. And so we're trying to come up with something that we can all deal with. And if NOAA can do the inspections and you don't have to pay for, a third party to fly out to your plant to do your inspections and all that, if we can do them remotely, that's going to save you money. But
Yeah.
the rest of it is basically, getting legal, getting approved as a manufacturer in the state of Colorado.
Yeah. Okay. Crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can bet it normally takes just one state to do something. And then it's like a runaway train that they all start taking in, but a lot of them will take the same stance as Colorado. So if you're just
Yeah.
we're gonna have to figure it out in order to get our houses approved.
Seems like the biggest thing is push that you can do those remote inspections.
Right.
If you can't do that, you got to fly somebody out here, kind of you're
Right.
out of that market. So,
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Absolutely.
all right.
Sean had a question. Robin or Inspector. He wrote, interior fire rating times per res code.
I don't know what the interior fire rating, it's 200. Flame spread rating is 200 in the ANSI standard. I don't know what it is in Colorado Building Code. What we're talking about is the exterior of the home, the roof, the walls would have to meet some kind of fire resistant or fireproof rating.
Yeah, I'm interested on the inside. I think we don't get, I think you're stuck with sheetrock on the inside, right? Like that's, and then the thickness needs to be 5/8. That's a lot of
In
weight.
order to get 200 flame spread,
We do it by time is the way I'm looking at it. Usually out here in California, they say it's a 1 hour wall or a 2 hour wall, something like that. I usually hear about time. It's something that the architects detail. It's an architectural detail, the level of fireproofing required between different spots. And I'm not familiar with the flank spray. Was that what I heard? Flank spray?
Flame spread, yeah.
I'm spread.
Yeah, I hear about time. Usually talk about in
Yeah.
terms of time.
I don't think there's
Um,
anything in the ANSI code on time. There is something in there on the flame spread, and of course they don't count trims and all that kind of stuff. But there is even paint that you can just use on a wall that will actually meet the flame spread for it.
And most of the things you purchase from your big box stores and stuff like that already have that flame spread
Rating
included.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Now, the only time I know, not in California, but I know back in Delaware, the only time that they talked about that we ever had to worry about as far as burn time was the wall between the garage and the home itself. If the garage was attached to the house, or if you were on a party wall, like in a townhouse. But other than that, they never really talked about a burn time. But
Yeah,
California is a little different than everybody else.
Anybody
Yeah,
else?
if I can find some information, I'll share that. But they haven't passed the code. Yeah, it's a WUI code, they call it. There it is. Wildland Urban Interface Code. And I don't know if it's good. I know, 1 hour, 2 hour firewalls, and that kind of a thing. I'll try to find some information about it. But the WUI code, it says here, it's going to have structural density and location, number of structures allowed in area at risk from wildfire plus setbacks. They're going to have building materials for the roof assemblies, the eaves, the vents, the gutters, exterior walls, windows, non-combustible building materials, and non-combustible surfaces. Then they're talking about vegetation management, emergency vehicle access, water supplies, and fire protection like sprinklers and spark arrests and that kind of thing. So I'll do a little more research on that, or I'll get somebody that has more time than I do to do that. Maybe we can talk about it another time. I really don't know, guys.
Any other questions?
Yeah, what's going on with our team? I mean, everybody happy? I heard Chad was having still little kid issues, and trying to keep somebody quiet. Would you guys be offended if there was a baby crying in the background when you did the inspection? Feedback.
I wind up
You
with
give
my
it the-
dog barking.
Anybody want any
That's
talk
fine.
about that, or also the new app? Anybody done any inspections? I know the inspectors are doing them because they're using the new app, but anybody give us any feedback on that new app that we're using?
I like the new app a lot.
You like it? Okay.
Yeah, you can
Alright,
zoom
well-
in, turn the flashlight on, everything very nice.
Cool.
Okay.
That's good. to
All
know.
right. I think we're going to go ahead and get that for a year. It's cheaper than buying it by the month if we buy it for the whole year, but we just wanted to make sure everybody was on board with that.
It
Is that
works.
the same app that used the website when you can send the web link and it does it through the browser?
It is the same app. It was just,
Mhm.
our IT decided that it was it was making it more efficient to download the app itself.
Okay. Would there be a way, I don't have this need, but I could see it arising at some point. If I have somebody, like if I'm out of town, that I can request to send the link to, like, let's say one of my workers that's here, and I don't have to explain how to get an app. It's just, you open this for this one time on here.
Well,
Does it?
what'll happen is if you give us the phone number that you want it to go to, and they'll get the text, and once they click on the link, it will force them to download the app.
Okay.
So
All right,
that's
I'll-
not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it instantly goes to the app store and has them to download the app. I think the connections are better through the app, according to Jordan, our IT guy. So that's why he made it go that way.
Okay. Cool. No, I really like it. It works really good.
But yeah, just anytime you need somebody else to do the inspection, just, where it says phone number, just put the phone number of the person you want to do the inspection instead of yours.
Mhm.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Awesome. Thank you. I don't see any questions. Oh,
Well,
Sean
we
said,
appreciate you guys joining for sure. And we always welcome your questions, and even offline, you're more than welcome to send questions to our inspectors. You can send them to me, to Leanne, and a lot of times the inspectors will give you their direct line. We try not to have that happen, but it does. So our inspectors are gracious enough to answer those calls and take on that part of the business as well. So
we got some awesome inspectors. Woohoo!
Guys, if you
Yeah.
don't, if we're just about done, if you don't need me, I have a builder who's waiting on me to do an inspection for him.
okay, thanks,
So,
Tony.
Bye.
I'm gonna run. All right, guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
just knock him off here.
Bye.
Be gone with yourself.
Sean, thank you, Sean. Sean said, go Noah. I like to have a standard to work to. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our members.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I'll turn it back over to Leanne.
Ask now or forever wait till next Thursday. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this evening. Thank you to our inspectors who worked all day and joined us for the chat. We'll see you Monday, where we will have Peter Hugler with Indigo River in Texas. And that'll be a good one. He's a longtime NOAA member, so I promise that will be a good session. So you guys have a great night. Have a good weekend. Happy Friday. And thanks again for joining us.